The chair recognizes the honourable member for Central and South Abaco.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in this great house with the honor of representing my good constituents in Central and South Abaco. One major issue on the minds of my constituents in particular, and many other Bahamians in the Bahamas over the past decade or more, is the issue of immigration. Illegal immigration, to be clear. Madam Speaker, illegal immigration has been an issue in Abaco and other parts of the Bahamas in areas of high commerce for many years now. But post-Hurricane Dorian, Abaco has experienced a wave of increased illegal immigration. With the destruction of two major Abaco shanty towns, known as the Mud and the Pigeon Peas, shantytown residents were scattered across Abaco, and a new shantytown to the north called the Farm has grown at a shocking rate, along with many small shantytowns scattered throughout Abaco, including my hometown of Albuquerque. Madam Speaker, when speaking on the Mud and Pigeon Peas, I am unclear whether the F&M representation in Central and South Abaco were blinded or did not bring to attention, but they were allowed to grow unchecked as their own countries within our country. When speaking of time, it was brought that the injunction was put in place in 2018. Hurricane Dorian, a little bit more than a year later. Nothing was done in that time. It was 3 years before they even tried to overturn that injunction. And it brings to mind, if there was the type of concentration and focus brought forth by these gentlemen now, then would hundreds and thousands of migrants been lost in that storm? Time is important. But immediately after the election, this Davis-led administration went to work on tackling the issue, starting with working on the reversal of a crippling injunction that prevented us from removing shantytown villages, despite them being built illegally on land that was not theirs. Madam Speaker, I am happy to say that this injunction has now been revoked and operations will commence on these illegally built structures when plans are cemented. I am adamant that any structure built without the proper procedure or approvals will not be allowed. These structures are unsanitary and are polluting our precious water tables. The water table in Abaco stretches the entire length of Great Abaco. If you pollute one section of it, the entire water table in Abaco is polluted. This is not only an effect of those residents in the shanty town, but it's an effect for all of my fellow Abaconians. There are also health and safety concerns. We have building codes and regulations in place for safety and health of all of our citizens. We cannot allow persons to build without the proper procedures and approvals in place. We cannot sit back and allow children here illegally or legally to play amongst unsanitary and unsafe dwellings. Notably, the risk of sickness or viral outbreak is increased and can easily and viciously spread to our children in the schools. Hurricane Dorian shockingly and sadly showed us the dangers of these unsafe, poorly constructed shanty towns. Hurricane Dorian massacred untold amounts of residents. We may never know the total number of deaths, as a majority of them were undocumented. So time is an issue. If focus was made in 2018 to push forward, there may have been many lives not lost. Madam Speaker, as I have mentioned before in this great house, the Bahamas is a country of limited means, and the government cannot tackle this alone. We need the collaboration and cooperation between the government and my fellow Bahamians working together to tackle this issue. This administration will not be tolerant of any persons housing or employing illegal persons of any nationality. We must eliminate the reason for targeting our country. If illegal foreign nationals cannot find means of income, meaning jobs, they will not come. Please note, citizens can also report violations or breaches of immigration laws to the 2 hotlines. I'll share that on my page for my constituents. These hotlines are manned by the Department of Immigration, and there's also a website with the Contact Us tab. I encourage you all to report violations and assist and cooperate with the Department of Immigration on their efforts. Madam Speaker, employers in the Bahamas that hold working permits for any of their employees must also be reminded. They are only permitted to work on the job specifics that were approved for by the Ministry of Immigration. Because you hold papers for an employee does not mean that they are able to carry out labor other than what they are approved for. They are permitted to the agreement you made between your company and the Department of Immigration. These things I see firsthand, Madam Speaker. Abaco, people working, permits coming from Nassau, Grand Bahama, maybe another family island. Once they get a piece of paper in their hand, they go wherever they feel. That's not the agreement at hand. Also, they have to have proper housing. If you hold papers for a person or persons, it is your responsibility to ensure they are living in suitable accommodations and not in shanty towns, nor in tents in the bush. With current and upcoming operations, if persons with working papers are found to be residing in these shanty towns, they must be relocated at the employer's expense. I encourage all employers to address this now. Madam Speaker, we also have to be reminded that illegal immigrants are not of only Haitian descent. In Abaco, we have persons working illegally from superpowers or first world countries, often taking the highest paying jobs in the most lucrative positions that should be offered to Bahamians. Yes. We cannot address illegal immigration and only address one nationality. This goes for everyone here living and working without approved documentation. We cannot report one person while overlooking another. We cannot afford to pick and choose with discrimination. The laws are made for all and will be enforced for everyone. Madam Speaker, we want to promote that there is a correct way of entering, living, and working in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Who wouldn't want to? Working in this great country, living here alongside my fellow Bahamians. Go through the proper channels and get the proper papers for the employment specified. We all must do our part in collaboration with the dedicated members of the Ministry of Immigration, the Royal Defense Force, and the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Let us work together for a better Bahamas for the future generations. Madam Speaker, this Davis Cooper administration, led by our Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, is committed to making the Bahamas for Bahamians. Yes. As stated last night in his national address, he has already taken certain steps in preventing and reducing the amount of illegal immigration in our country. He stood strong against the pressure to sign agreements that would burden our island nation. Serious pressure from serious larger countries. The Bahamas cannot take on further migrants, nor can we afford to stop deportations. This Davis Cooper administration has and will continue recruiting more defense force and immigration officers to handle this current influx. Madam Speaker, in Abaco, I will continue to work alongside and assist whenever possible. The Ministry of Immigration, Department of Immigration, Defense Force, and Police Force to tackle these issues. You may have noticed some initiatives have already started around Abaco, and they will continue. We will not be tolerant of those who aid in the construction of shanty towns, unlawfully leasing land, smuggling humans, and those employing migrants illegally. These laws will be enforced for all. Thanks to the efforts of the good minister for the Ministry of Immigration and Labor and our Defense Force, it has been a while since I've seen migrant boats come ashore in Abaco, and I commend them on their efforts. The great effort and good work being done to protect our southern territory has been felt nationwide, all the way up north to Abaco. I have personally been on the front lines of migrant boats washing ashore, many exploratory missions through the bushes with immigration officers before my days standing here in this great house. Before I was a member of Parliament, I was a proactive citizen working in collaboration and cooperation with these agencies. One event that is imprinted on my mind for the rest of my life is the migrant vessel caught in rough seas off the coast of Abaco, which sank. I was one of the volunteer rescue workers who went out to rescue survivors and pulled the deceased from the waters. The memories of that event affected us all who were on scene and deeply hurt myself and others who responded. Such tragedy witnessed is not easily forgotten. This event is a mere example of the dire situation that is pushing human beings to take such risks, not only for themselves, but for the children and the most vulnerable. I commend the renewed international commitment to Haiti and resolving this issue affecting many in our Caribbean nations. International collaboration is needed to also combat and stem the problem from where it starts. Far too long has the focus been on containment, when the superpowers in this international community needs to step up and help that island nation regain stability throughout the country of Haiti. As CARICOM members, we are each other's brothers and sisters. And together, we want, and I pray, for a better way of life and prosperity in Haiti. Madam Speaker, I wish to add that we will carry out these missions humanely and responsibly. These departments have been working on plans in order to carry out exercise on this delicate issue. And it is delicate. We're speaking of human beings. We must be reminded that these are people like you and I, including women and children of all ages. But our Bahamas, cannot support this migrant influx and must protect our borders in order to protect our lands for our future generations. I reiterate, there is a legal and proper way to enter our country. And I encourage anyone here in the Bahamas, not here through these proper channels and approvals, to leave and return only if you have gone through the lawful procedures. Madam Speaker, this issue at hand is something that I know first and foremost, being on the front line, seeing it throughout my life, seeing it blossom. But I also know the other side of it. The children of Haitian descent that are Bahamians are my friends, are upstanding citizens in our country that have businesses, that employ other Bahamians, that grow, that have children, that play with my children and other Bahamian children. We are one people. That triangle, that black triangle in our flag, that's the unity of the people. And truthfully, unless you're Lucayan or Arawak, we were all immigrants at one point. I'm 8th generation in one place and 9th generation in the next, and they were the founders there. But we were all immigrants at one point. However, the Bahamas borders and the security of the citizens today are first and foremost. We must protect this country for the future generations. Future generations are our greatest resource. Great Abaco and the Keys are in full support with this Davis administration, taking action to resolving these decades-long matter. Abaconians support enforcement of illegal immigration of all nationalities and look forward to this administration tackling this issue humanely and responsibly through good leadership. But time is something that we cannot get back, as the good member from Freetown so elegantly expressed. If time was on the minds of the opposition in 2018, would we have lost thousands in Hurricane Dorian? If the mud and the pigeon peas would have been focused on instead of going unchecked, would Dorian take in so many lives, Madam Speaker? This is that we as a nation cannot be burdened with more bureaucracy, more talk, and more politics. Action is being taken, and action is what is needed. Making the Bahamas for Bahamians is a priority of this administration. God bless my fellow Abaconians, and God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.